So there are certain steps that I just want to cover that are very important. Very, very simple. You'll see them once, maybe twice, that's it. You'll never need to remember or think of these again. You'll always remember them. But certain very, very basic steps that I want to cover when it comes to carrier-based obturation. The first thing is you have to use the size verifier. This is a full-on nickel titanium hand file that comes with the obturators, okay? It's included in there. And it serves three purposes. One of them is to clear the apical debris. What do I mean? After we're instrumenting, and even if we're irrigating, there's usually a little bit of a dent and mud that's left at the apical part of the canal. And this is no matter what system you're using out there. So no matter what obturation system you're using, you should always clear the dent and debris or the dent and mud that's left in the apical, maybe 1, 2, or 3 millimeters. Because if you don't, then your obturation will not reach length. I hear a common question where people say, Manor, how come I did everything right, I used an apex locator, I reached the working length with my file, but when I'm obturating, somehow the obturation is 2 millimeters short. This is one of the main reasons for it, because you may have some dent and plug left behind, again, no matter what system you're using. So what you have to do is you put in this size verifier, and you're going to be turning it in there, and you got to make sure that the tip of that file comes out free of dent and debris. Okay, it might be clean debris, but it's still dent and debris that's going to block your obturation. If you let's say do have some powder or debris on the tip of the file, fine, then clean the file, put it back in the canal, and keep doing this until it comes out free of dentin. You also want to make sure that the file, the size verifier, this nickel titanium size verifier, is fairly loose inside the canal. If it is, it means you've instrumented sufficiently for the corresponding GuttaCore obturator. If it goes in really, really tight, that means you need to instrument just a little bit more. I often do it with my size verifier, or if you want, go back in with your main master nickel titanium, let's say mechanized file. Whatever it is, it just has to be a little bit loose. So remove the dent and debris and make sure it's a little bit loose in there. It takes 2 seconds to do this. It's really simple, but very, very important part of the procedure. Here's another example clinically of me using a size verifier in the fully instrumented and dried canal. I take it out, there's no dent and debris at the tip, perfect, we're good to obturate. The other thing that the size verifier is used for, the third thing, is it's almost like your mid-obturation conformation. Because by the time we're done obturating with the GuttaCore, well, that's it, it's obturated. You're not going to take a mid-obturation film. So just to be sure that, okay, you are where you want to be, you put in this corresponding color size verifier, take a radiograph, make sure everything's okay. If it is, again, we're good to go here. So the next question, and I get this quite often, Manor, how much sealer should I use? Or Manor, I get this issue and that issue because I use too much or too little sealer. It's actually very, very simple. We're here obturating with gutta-percha. We're not here to obturate with sealer. Somehow year after year after year, decade after decade in endodontics, there's just one common theme. We always seem to go back to gutta-percha obturation. Not a ton of sealer and a skinny little gutta-percha to put in the canal. And so how much sealer do you put in there? Very little, less than what you think. So here you see on a paper point, I'm putting just maybe the last few millimeters of the paper point, I'm putting some sealer in there. And I'm just going to be coating the canal very gently, going to roughly working length. It's really meant to be more of a lubricant than anything else. Okay, so just very little sealer. How much? Less than what you think. That's how much. You want to obturate with gutta-percha. The next step then is you're going to have your warm obturator. You took it out of the oven. Super simple step, but very, very important. I want to make your life easier. Okay, and I learned this right away when I started using GuttaCore, is, as you see in this video, grab it with a cotton plier, not your fingers, break off the handle, and now it's like a paper point. You're going to be putting it in there, and again, roughly 7-8 seconds. So 7,000, 8,000, that's it. There we are. And you'll actually see in this block how the gutta-percha and even sealer even filled the lateral canals. A point I want to mention here is you'll see the rubber stopper was a millimeter short of really the working length it should have gone to. Okay, let's say we instrument it to 20 millimeters, we want to obturate at 20 millimeters, but somehow the rubber stopper stops at 19 millimeters. I see this very, very often, whether I'm using it or whether it's during a workshop that I'm giving that it happens. It's rarely ever an issue. If you've instrumented the canal properly, you've cleared the dent and debris properly, it's nice and dry, then I'd say, from my experience, 9 times out of 10, and as you see in this video, if that rubber stopper is, say, a millimeter short of where it should be, you're fine. So please don't worry. That gutta percha it'll fill the nooks and crevices beautifully. If you left that space behind, there's no dent and plug or anything like that, it'll fill that space. I'd say easily 9 times out of 10. So not an issue, but look at how simple this technique was in terms of obturating this thing. It's beautifully simple. I'm going to actually show the video again, if you don't mind. So here I am, break off the handle, grab it with a cotton plier, put it in the canal, and we're counting. 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, 7,000. That's it. It's more you getting used to the speed I put it, the obturator in the canal that's important. That's why I'm emphasizing the counting. And that's it. You're done. Remember all those 15 steps that there were in those images that I showed you about warm down pack techniques? So imagine all those for this one canal versus this within roughly 7-8 seconds. Okay, this is where we are this day and age in endodontics when it comes to obturation.